Hello viewers, you're welcome to this episode of our program, You and Your Family. And my name is Evangelist Mrs. Faith Okafor. Today we are here to discuss a very interesting topic concerning our marriages. So the topic I want to be talking about today is knowing the will of God in marriage. Make sure you hang around with people, bring people to sit and watch us, and be part of this precious program. Thank you. God bless you. The will of God concerning every man is to do his will. The will of God concerning every marriage that people will do what God wants them to do. The will of God is living according to what God has proposed in his heart concerning your future for your marriage. When we talk about doing the will of God for marriage, a lot of people do misunderstand it. They feel, must God tell you who to marry? God has given you the grace to find a wife. Why saying the will of God? Yes. If you are a child of God, you must believe in what the will of God is. And you must allow him to lead you. You must you must not lean in your own understanding, but acknowledge the Lord in all your ways. So if you acknowledge the Lord in all your ways, according to the book of Proverbs, you will also acknowledge him in the area of your marriage. Yes, a lot of people are getting it misunderstood because some persons have said, God asked me to marry this person. When we look at their marriage, they are already having problems, they are having issues, and people began to ask, but they said it was the will of God for their marriage. I know how some people has asked me such a question, and I also has also asked such a question. What's the reason for the will of God in marriage? If after having such a person to be your spouse, people are having challenges, having problems, and the marriage is about to scatter, sometimes it scatters like that, then when I asked such a question, I actually receive an answer. There was a time in my life I came to realize that some persons who call themselves believers, they're having challenges in their marriage, and sometimes they feel like they should end it all. And I noticed that some persons are really enduring their relationship in marriage. And I began to ask my parents, what is even the meaning of this? What is even the benefits of having the will of God in marriage? And I heard that these people, they follow the will of God and they married themselves. Then what is the benefit of having it? And I told myself, okay, if my uncle, I once stayed with one of my uncles, I knew he was an unbeliever, the wife is too, but I saw them living in peace. I saw what it called practical love. And I said, okay, I thought it's only believers that normally have this kind of practical love. But if I could see it among people who call themselves, who doesn't even read the Bible the way, or that are not even born again like that, they could live to express such love to themselves up to that age in marriage. It means there is no need for will of God. I think with love, everything covers everything. I can have a good marriage with love. And then I was in a relationship which I was battling with. I don't really want that relationship, but I knew I loved the person I was in the relationship, which is my husband. But when I concluded I knew my husband's case was actually issue of will of God. And also for that reason, I'm not going to marry him. Let me just look for someone else I love. If I get someone that can love me and I love the person, I'll just say no to him and move ahead. And someone came into line. I noticed I actually doesn't love this man. He claims to love me. He acts as someone who loves me, but I personally knew I don't love him, and I couldn't go on with this marriage. I was like, if I just love this man one day, I will just accept it. Until one day, my mother sat me down and was telling me that, you see, marriage, will of God for marriage is not just that. It's not just that God will give you a man and give you a woman, and now come and make everything bed of roses for you. No. She said, it's like a man who bought a bed for her daughter, bought a wonderful bed sheet, asked them to fix the bed for her in her room, and they covered the bed sheet for her, and now called the daughter, this is my surprise gift for you, take this gift, enjoy the gift. And the daughter landed on the bed with excitement, rolled from one end to another, and all that. Then throughout the night she was on the bed enjoying the fantasy of the new bed, enjoying it, and in the process of enjoying the new bed, her legs scattered the bed sheet that was well arranged before it was offered to her. Then that it's expected that the daughter, when she wakes up in the morning, she should be able to dress the bed back. But if she decides not to dress the bed back, when she returns back again, she will not see the bed the way it was when they gave it to her, because she has scattered the bed. And that is how will of God is. That the Father will not come and be making the bed for her every day. That the Father has given her the bed, the foam, and the bed sheet. She should learn the skill of keeping it the way it was that attracted her, that made her happy, that they offered her a wonderful gift. And she said the daughter should be able to take responsibility of washing the bed sheet, making sure the bed is in order. If not, the bed will not last for her, will not serve her. And should make sure anytime the bed is having challenge, is being fixed. If not, that bed may not serve. It does not mean that the father bought a wrong bed or a bed that is not of quality, but because she could not manage what the Father has given to her. She now told me that is what the will of God is for marriage. And I bring to your notice today, the will of God is the plan of God for you, the best plan of God for you. His plan is to give you the best spouse on earth. And when he gave it to you, there is a work for you to do, whereby people refuse to do it and make people to doubt the will of God. Today we are going to talk about knowing the will of God for your marriage. Now that we have known what the will of God is, how do you know the will of God for your marriage? That is, how do you know you're Mr. Right or Mrs. Right? How do you know the one that is your own? How do you know who is the man for you, who is the woman for you? Yes, there are several means God can reveal, and he has been revealing to people or showing people who their wife or their husband is. And it's been working like that for years. Yes. In the time of Abraham told his son, the servants, Eliezer, that he should go to his people and get a wife for the son. And when he died, Eliezer went to the people to go and get a wife, and he asked God for a sign. And that specific sign he asked God, God gave it to him, and he was able to get a wife for Isaac. Some persons can know the will of God, can get the will of God for their life through asking for a specific sign. Yes. Sometimes people believe it's only when you see a dream that is the will of God. Sometimes people has done the will of God, they are living with the will of God, but they believe that it's not by a dream, so it is not the will of God for them. Some of you have asked, Father, I want, if this girl is my wife, let's just so and so thing happen. I heard a brother talking to me. He said there was these two sisters in his life. They were coming close to him. He was considering two of them, and which of them he should marry. All of them are interested in him, and he too is interested in them, but he doesn't know who to go for. They have almost same quality, and they have good characters, and he doesn't know who to settle for. But he was about to go to school. But these ladies, they are already of age. He was actually at the age of getting married that time, but he didn't get admission on time. So he traveled out of town for his university program. So when he traveled, he prayed a prayer and told God that these two ladies, they want me and I want them, but I don't know who to choose among them. Anyone that waits for me until I finish my university and come back, that I meet among these two, I will marry. I will know that is the will of God for me. And he traveled for the program and came back. One of them waited and couldn't wait anymore and got married. Then this other one did not get married, not see anybody to marry her or something like that, didn't marry. So when he came back, one has already married, so it was easier for him to make a choice. And that was a specific question he asked God, and he saw it that God has answered him in that area, and he chose the lady, and they are married together today. But when you are giving God a specific question or sign, asking him to give you a specific sign to choose a spouse, you should also be very, very, very careful. Don't give God a specific thing, even though God, yes, God can handle every impossibilities in your life, but don't give God some kind of sign that you know that it's not going to be possible. You don't say, Father, if I want you to let my wife, if anybody that is going to be my wife today, let the person come and give me apple today. How about if the person is not in Makurdi? How about the person is not in Nigeria? How about the person is not within your environment? Then how do you want God to fly the person and come back from UK or from wherever to come and give you apple? I don't know if you're getting me. Getting what I'm saying? So sometimes when you want to give God a specific sign, you have to be conscious and look at a realistic one, and also know, always believe in God directing you to the right one. Don't always give a specific sign that you know that cannot be achievable, and always be very careful, because sometimes you may give a sign, and that sign, before you know it, the enemy will bring you something to bring it to pass, and you think it's God that is directing you. You should always know how to hear from God. So anytime you give a sign, always give a room for a proof to test whether that sign is actually true. Don't just ask God, if anybody that come and slap me or rub me on my back is going to be my wife. When you come and two people rub you on your back, you're going to marry two persons. So you have to test every specific sign or question you ask God with other things to prove whether it is the will of God for you. Then number two, another way God reveal himself, to people who is their spouse. Most prevalent one is the dream. Sometime you see a dream, God will show you a dream of someone who is your wife or your husband, like mine. Yes, it was through the dream. It's not for when you have somebody in mind, you're already desiring to marry, somebody you're already thinking of, somebody you're in relationship with for years, and now you're asking God, show me your will in the dream. Then you go ahead and dream about the person. You can't be dating somebody for years and you're living with the person. Some of them are even living with the person. Like if somebody was calling someone and say, please know whether this man is the will of God for me, and she's living with a man in the house, even though they're not married. When you dream, you see that man in your dream marrying you, taking you to the altar, because that's your desire. Sometimes when you have a desire over someone, sometimes it will form your subconsciousness, and you have such kind of dream, see such kind of persons in your dream, and it will make you believe that it's the will of God. Sometimes you make a mistake. That is why some persons saw some dreams and believe it's the will of God, and not knowing is their flesh, their desire, what preoccupied their mind over the day that made them to see such a person as their husband to be. Mine, I didn't even know my husband. My husband didn't even know me when he saw me. He has never met me in life. He has never seen me anywhere. But he saw me as his wife and began to look for me, and God connected us. God is a connector. He has a way to connect people. He has a way to bring people from afar to meet each other. Don't create opportunity to connect. Allow yourself to be connected by God, because you don't even know where your own person is for God to connect you. So allow it to happen naturally, and God will do it the way he wants it. So dreams can be one of the ways God speaks to people, but you should be able to understand the difference between God's voice. Be able to check your heart, whether you are having feelings for this person, whether you are thinking about him, whether you are having any connections with the person before you saw him or her in the dream. You should search your spirit. Don't be carried away by the fantasy that you saw him in the dream, that is the will of God. Always test every spirit. Don't be carried away. As a child of God, even when you see a dream, you should be able to analyze it under the spirit. You should be able to check that dream, whether it's the reality, if that is what God is saying. Always try to test the spirit. Find out. Don't just accept by one dream. You can ask God for confirmation, and God can give you a lot of confirmation that can be able to match that dream, to make the dream to be what? The reality. Number two way I said is the dream. We have talked about people meeting each other in different ways, and now we just talked about the dream. So we're going to be going on a short break, and we'll be right back to continue other points on how to know the will of God for your life. Thank you. Yes, you're welcome back to our program, You and Your Family. Yes, I remain Evangelist Mrs. Faith Okafor on Divinity TV. We have this program running every Saturday by 5 p.m. Always make sure you're part of it. Yes, we've been dealing on the topic how to know the will of God for your life in marriage. And we've listed some points how God reveals someone's spouse to him. God can reveal through the dream. God can also reveal to someone who is your wife in different ways. And another point we're going to talk about right now is by inner conviction. Sometimes you can meet somebody and just meeting the person, your spirit bears witness in you that this is your wife. Even without knowing this person, just attending the program, meeting someone, your mind is telling you this is your husband, this is your wife. That is the spirit bearing witness in you, but you have to still test the spirits I told you before now. Test all spirit, don't be carried away. Whether by a recommendation or by giving God a specific question or by dream, always test every spirit. Always look for clarification, look for confirmation in everything. Sometimes this inner spirit, that the spirit of God will bear witness in you that this is your wife, and you find out that when you get closer and closer, something will always happen. That even when you don't want it, sometimes things will always keep connecting people together to bring that marriage to pass. God can use the inner spirit in you to bear witness that this is your wife. Some people call it love at first sight. I don't know if you're getting me. Just meeting someone, you don't even know the person, and you have this feeling in you that this is your own person. Please, if you are a woman and you have that kind of sensation, don't meet the man and tell him, God is speaking to me that you are my husband. You only get the other thing as the answer, or you may be embarrassed. Leave it for the man to propose. In African setting, a woman doesn't propose a man. It is always in the man's hand to find you, look for you. When you are too fast, because in some cases God will always reveal who is your husband to you without even telling the man yet, and you already know. Maybe he's doing it for you to be focused. Maybe he has seen that if he doesn't tell you, you may make a mistake in life. So he went ahead of time to tell you who is your husband, so that you can be able to be focused, you can be able to know what is good for you. Don't be carried away because God showed him or her to you. Don't be carried away because you notice that this person, God is speaking to you and you are attracted to him suddenly. Don't be carried away by going close, trying to initiate a relationship. Just be yourself. God has a way to connect. He's a great connector. He will connect to people. No matter how you see sisters floating around the person, don't be in a haste and run. Let me go and tell him before someone else tells him, before someone takes him away from me. You are not the one that connected, brought that feeling or that connection. Allow it to be. Don't initiate it. Because if you try to initiate it, you have to keep it for yourself. That is how God can convince people to get married to each other, by the witnessing inside their spirit, Holy Spirit witnessing inside them. They can also know the will of God for their marriage. Another one is sometimes most people they believe that you can receive the will of God by prophecy. They prophesying you, that telling that this is your husband, this is your wife. Anyone they prophesy to you, I don't believe in prophesying people into marriage. I believe people having their conviction. Even if they prophesy somebody into your life, please go and ask God. You are a child of God. Tell God to give you a sign. Ask God to show you whether this person is actually your own. Don't be in a haste to rush into by one information and you rush into marriage. Another means where God shows his will to his people concerning marriage is by recommendation. Sometimes people, their parents recommend them for each other. Hey, I like this sister. Can you check this sister out if it's suitable for you? You find out that when you come around, you don't even know this sister, but when you pray, you find out that this person is the will of God for you. When they recommend, they bring this person to you by recommendation, and you pray and God confirms that this is his will for you. Your parents can even recommend, your friend can recommend for you. But when they recommend for you, I didn't say that if they recommend, you should just move ahead immediately because they were recommended to you. You should be able to confirm. Have a way to confirm, to test all spirits. Test everything before you walk into marriage. Is not what you just walk into and walk out tomorrow. That is why you need to check and balance things before you walk into it. Yes, through recommendation, a lot of people have had this kind of recommendation, and they marry the right man and the right woman for their lives, even though they are not even born again, and they marry the right people But don't be carried away that is a bigger person or someone, a significant figure in the sight of your life is recommending someone. Don't be carried away. Always have your own conviction. I watched in a Mount Zion movie the other day that said that a lady married a man. He said why the man is the pastor's son, the lady is the pastor's daughter, and their parents were family friends. They are believers, so they believe that I am a believer, you're a believer, my children, they will be believers too. So it's good they marry each other and they recommend their daughter and their son together. They didn't even care to check themselves to know whether they are compatible to each other, whether they are the will of God for each other. They didn't even, their parents told them, we have prayed all the prayers, people should just go ahead and marry. And they didn't care to pray on their own. They believe since their parents are man of God, men of God, they are women of God, so they have already given their go ahead, so we should just get married. And they got married, and the marriage scattered because they didn't understand each other. There are basic things they need to understand and know about themselves. They didn't even confirm from God whether it's God that is sending them into the relationship, and they walked into it, and that is the way they scattered in that relationship. So always, even when you are being recommended to someone, even when someone recommend someone for you, always know, find out whether it's God's plan for your life. Find out whether it's God's plan for your life. Another one again is by audible voice. Some hear audible voice. This is your wife. Some will even hear their name. It can be by audible voice, sounding as if somebody is talking to you. It has happened to so many, and they heard it and they confirm it and they move ahead with it, and they are not regretting it today that this person is their wife. If you're a lady and a brother comes to you to tell you, see, as a young lady, I had so many brothers who came to me to tell me I had a son in their dream. How some said they were carrying umbrella, and I was carrying umbrella, and I was covering them, shielding them from sun and rain, doing whatever. Some came and told me, let me tell you, when some brothers are thinking of you, they will see dream where you are carrying umbrella covering them. So don't be carried away by their own dream. You go and have your own dream. Go and have your own convention. If they tell you they are this, please go and find out. I have since a brother who came to me and told me that he is the will of God, and I prayed and he was not the will of God for me. And he's a very strong brother, somebody I'm looking up to as a child of God at that time, but he was carried away by the way he felt I'll be suitable for him for marriage. A lot of people proposed to me and who were close to God, but they told me things that God told them. And I told him, even my husband, when he came and told me his own commission, I told him, see, I'll have to go to God. Though. You're a child of God. God has told you. I need to go to God. Let him tell me too, because I'm also his child. And when I got convinced from God, I was sure of what I was walking into. Conviction from God helps you. When you are walking into the marriage, you don't walk like someone who is deceived into the marriage. You don't walk like somebody who is entering into relationship. You don't even know what is going to be the outcome. I remember I met some situation in the marriage along the line, and I began to ask God to see, I didn't choose this man. You chose him for me. So if you're the one that chose him for me, please go ahead and settle this issue in my life and in my family. And God went ahead doing those things. If I'm in luck, I'll tell God, see, I didn't choose this man. I need money for so and so thing. So you that brought me to this family, you have to provide for him or provide for me so that this case will be settled. And I see God doing it because he brought me to it and he knows how to handle things for me. So will of God helps you to give God in charge of your home ahead of you. When you want to choose for yourself, choose because they are tall, they are fine. You constantly, when you make your choice, you keep on keeping whatever you struggle to get for yourself. Remember, you will struggle to keep it. But whatever you allow God to give to you, God will keep that thing for you. Even if there is a problem, it's not going to be everlasting. If there's a problem today in your relationship because of one thing or the other, know that it's because there is something you're supposed to do or your spouse is supposed to do that you have not done. That is why the problem enters. And always believe there is always a room for conflict in relationship to build and to strengthen the relationship. There is no relationship that is void of conflict that stands a long time or that stands the test of time. Any relationship that has no that is conflict free doesn't last for a long time. But when you have conflict, understanding, misunderstanding, coming and going, and this is going to be a constant something, but at least once in a while there should be settlement. It helps to strengthen the relationship and make it to be stable and wonderful. So go for the will of God. I recommend the will of God for you. It is the best for you. It means God taking charge of your marital life. It means God giving you the right person. It means God giving you the best person. It means God seeing ahead of you and giving you. You don't know the beginning from the end, neither do you know the end from the beginning. God knows this. That is why we need Him to guide us, to lead us, and to give us the best person in life. When you do the will of God, you will not regret it, especially when you prepared yourself for marriage and He prepared Himself for marriage. Then when God recommends somebody, because both of you are prepared, you will have no challenge in that relationship. Most relationship that you see people struggling to have a wonderful marriage, even with the will of God, is because there are important things they needed to know that they did not know, and there are things they overlooked that they're not supposed to overlook. There are things they need to watch out for that they did not do that affected their marriage. Yes, in last episode we talked about how to prepare yourself for marriage, how to prepare yourself to be ready for marriage. And in the next episode, we'll be talking about, even as God revealed to you, this is the man, the right man. How do you know? What are the things to watch out in the life of the Mr. Right and Mr. Wrong? Even when God is telling you this is the right person, only will of God cannot keep. There are other things you need to make the marriage to work out well, even as it is the will of God. So watch out for the next episode and watch out for that previous episode so that I can be able to follow this program, follow it better. Thank you very much for being part of this program. Remember, it is you and your family on Divinity TV. Make sure you subscribe to our channel on Divinity TV on YouTube, and make sure you follow us on Instagram and Facebook. I remain your anchor, Evangelist Mrs. Faith Okafor. The will of God is the best. Thank you.